This is Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
And yes, stock markets शुरू हो गया है. Vijay, lovely to have you in the studio once again.
Always a pleasure, Vivek, being here.
So Vijay, कल का मैच, let's start with that. Italy और Spain penalty पे गया मैच, and who were you cheering for?
I was cheering for Italy, so good results for me. Also, सुबह की मैच थी Copa America की, Argentina versus Colombia.
Okay.
Also went to penalties, and I was cheering for Argentina, of course.
क्या बात है. Sports investment is another industry, I guess.
It's actually a very good industry.
So you need to keep a track of that as well?
Absolutely.
अच्छा, मतलब उसमें किस तरह के investments होते हैं? Quickly, if you could just...
So of course there are sponsorships that is there, which is a huge investment by itself. There are a lot of companies that do grooming of players also. So grooming of players and actually, training them at a much earlier stage, and then, actually they get recruited for big teams is actually a great investment. We see a lot of clubs also now. So they do a lot of investments, like Messi itself. Barcelona ke liye it was an investment.
Correct.
They invested in him when he was 7 years old.
Absolutely amazing. And ये जो teams को खरीदना हो, I mean, for normal people it's like a dream to own a team, but they can actually do that with Boomer 11.
So you can't really own a team with Boomer 11, but actually
you can make a team.
But stocks are listed. So stocks for companies like AC Milan, Juventus, Manchester United, you can actually buy stocks of those companies.
And you have to keep a track as well of their...
Absolutely. So if Manchester United actually comes through the Champions League, the stock goes
value,
up. Stock goes up. So you have to actually know a lot of football to actually invest in these stocks.
Wow, amazing. There's no field jo you can miss out if you're into finance and if you're into investing.
Well, we live in a capitalistic world, so everything is finance related eventually.
Now starting, I think आज हम बात करेंगे a lot about retirement. So पहला सवाल यही है कि when do retirement plans need to be set up?
So the idea is retirement plans need to be set up as early as possible. The thumb rule is that you should always have an investment size which is 25 times of your actual annual expenses.
Okay, let me just go through it again. 25 times of actual
annual expenses.
Acha.
So let's say that if your actual annual expenses is $100,000, let's say 30,000 dirhams is your annual monthly expense. So $100,000 is what you are spending on an annual basis.
Okay.
So you can retire when you have $2.5 million.
Acha.
Now it sounds like a really steep number.
Yes.
But when you break it down, right, it's just like a 350 ka target marna hai. Lekin when you think of it over 7 runs marne hai, तो it seems very doable.
और this is taking into consideration कि inflation जो चल रहा है वो कितने % से बढ़ेगा? Let's say अभी US में 2% एक rate, for example, they're
correct. The idea is that inflation you have to expect depending on the country. So in a place like UAE, if you are looking for retirement, you have to look at inflation at 3.5 to 4% annually.
और returns भी वैसे आने चाहिए तब
Returns भी वैसे आने चाहिए. And if you're looking at India, तो you can expect an inflation of at least 10%. मतलब
और मतलब currency का भी difference है, of course. तो that way also.
But then that is an advantage for anybody who's living over here. Is that we are actually getting a lot of advantage of the currency.
Correct.
So anybody actually residing and earning in the UAE and wanting to retire back in India or Pakistan, उनके लिए actually it's a huge advantage. Whereas a person who's actually living and earning in India and Pakistan and wants to retire over there becomes a much more difficult task.
So ये एक emotional decision नहीं होना चाहिए about retirement और ये planning जो आप करते हो. More than emotional, it should be a more practical decision.
So the idea is you can never keep emotions out of your life. तो emotion main है कि retire होना कहाँ है.
Yes, true.
Good morning,
Vijay.
Thank you, Sobia. Good morning.
आप लोगों ने मैच एंजॉय कर लिया या कल की हाइलाइट्स हो गई?
देखो ब्लू पेन क्या है विजय, एंड ही वाज सपोर्टिंग इटली, और कोपा अमेरिका भी दिख क्या है. तो सोए कब, अब उठे कब, अब जागे कब?
So we are quite used to this because the Hong Kong markets open at 5 a.m. So we are up at 5 a.m.
एंड रात को मैच भी देखा आपने?
हाँ, वो तो मतलब just by compulsion.
I think you and Vivek had good prediction because कल विवेक भी यही कह रहे थे कि इटली जीतेगा, and you were also supporting Italy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about the trophy? उसके लिए आप किसको support कर रहे हैं? फ्रांस तो रह गया पीछे, पोर्चुगल भी निकल गया.
I would want Italy to win, but by the looks of it, England का ही है.
अच्छा, ये देखें prediction game है सारी, and when it comes to Vijay,
नहीं, it's about where he's invested his stocks also.
Absolutely. So investment is in England. but with the heart wants Italy.
ये क्या विजय, ये तो आप दो हिस्सों में बट गए हैं.
So when I go on a holiday, I actually prefer Italy as a destination. इसीलिए, no other reason.
Yes, विजय ऐसा मत करें, तो वो बात होगी प्यार किसी और से, शादी किसी और से, कि इन्वेस्टमेंट कहीं और है लेकिन दिल कहीं और इन्वेस्टेड है. But yes, that's all the fun of your business and of course the game as well.
So we were talking about retirement plans and the decisions that we take, emotional भी angle एक आता है उसमें, and also living in UAE हमने देखा है कि काफी लोग जो है वो कनाडा माइग्रेट होते हैं और काफी अलग अलग कंट्रीज जाते हैं. How do that people need to take in account?
So absolutely, that's why I said कि emotional decision comes in कि retire होना कहाँ पे है, and your entire calculation also starts exactly from there.
नहीं, you never know. कभी-कभी ये होता है ना कि आपको मिल गया वहाँ पे जॉब और आप चले जाते हो.
Absolutely. So you have to always plan for the worst case scenario and always hope for the best. But the idea is whenever you're planning, right, आपका एक plan होना चाहिए कि what is plan A and what is plan B. Plan A पे you have the most ambitious plan जहाँ पे you know कि मुझे यहाँ जाना है. Whether I get a job over there or not, whether things will work out or not is plan A. But plan B होना जरूरी है हमेशा.
I think हमारे विवेक, हमारे listeners ये जरूर जानना चाहेंगे कि अब तो ये हमारे मेहमान तो नहीं रहे, थोड़ी हो गए हैं, रोज आपका आना जाना रहता है, बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, हमें मैसेजेस भी आते हैं आपको हाय हेलो के. लोग ये जानना चाहेंगे कि आपका रिटायरमेंट प्लान क्या है.
So my retirement plan is actually in Spain.
हाँ.
Why is that?
I love the place. It's an amazing place. Good food, good culture, good people.
And siesta, which happens in the afternoon.
And siesta. Me being a Sindhi, so we are used to the siesta in each ways.
1 से 4 मीना बाजार बंद.
Exactly.
Spain में कहाँ?
So Spain में Malaga or Marbella are my 2 top destinations.
You've been there?
I've been to Spain a couple of times.
And you speak Spanish also?
I'm learning a little bit, but that's why Marbella. Actually, I prefer Barcelona as a place, but Marbella में क्या है? It's mainly English, so.
हाँ, तो इसीलिए आपको.
I love the energy of Barcelona.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other countries and all, लेकिन वो कहते हैं ना कोई चीज़ दिल को लग जाती है, तो जब आप travel कर रहे होते हो, so there are some places जो रह जाती हैं, and so I agree with you that Barcelona, for me, it has a very different vibe.
Definitely.
And this is how you're planning आपका retirement as well वहाँ पे.
Absolutely.
So ये जो long term plans होते हैं, how well can we execute it अगर how मतलब as early as we start?
So it's always as early as you start, because the earlier you start, the easier it gets. The later you start, just gets a little more difficult. It's still not impossible. It's actually never impossible. It's just about how easier it gets when you're starting early.
Okay.
And what age you are planning to retire?
I'm actually planning to retire at the age of 40, 41.
See, ये जो है ना, मैंने देखा है, even my brother-in-law, he also has this dream कि by the time he reaches 50, then he has this kind of money and then he travels around the world. And how much is it possible?
So it's actually very possible. That is the most important thing, is that you don't increase your expenses today, so that you cannot reduce your expenses more than 20-30% when you're retiring. So standard of living आज के time में maintain करना is much more important than कि okay चलो we are in a good stable job right now, so right now we should splurge on money is a very very important thing to note.
I think कुछ लोगों के लिए standard, and if I may say so, Vijay, comfort is the main ingredient. कि standard ठीक है लेकिन आप comfortable हो, बहुत सारे लोगों का यही होता है कि they don't want to splurge at the same time, they don't they just want to be comfortable.
Absolutely, and comfort is the most important thing. I mean, end of the day, you're retiring for comfort. You don't want to retire and be under stress at any given time.
आपस की बात है, मैंने तो कभी सोचा नहीं रिटायरमेंट के लिए. So I wanted to know what plan Vijay has, because आप inspire होते हो, and you see what people are doing around you, and who better to ask Vijay himself from Century Financial आपके लिए टॉक मार्केट्स लेकर आते हैं. आज बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है, हम लोग ऑलरेडी ऐसे लग रहा है कि स्पेन की हवाओं में, यहाँ ठंड भी ऐसी है. So that's nice, that's his plan. And if हमारे listeners जानना चाहते हैं कोई जगह के वो कैसी रहेगी, perhaps
रिटायरमेंट के लिए कौन सी सबसे अच्छी कंट्री है, ये भी आपको जानना है तो विजय बता सकते हैं, because he is good in geography also, if I'm not wrong.
Actually quite good, yes.
और हम भी वैसे रिटायर होने वाले हैं, लेकिन उसके लिए another 45 minutes are there.
Yes, but you can ask your questions. आपको कोई भी questions पूछने about investment, about anything, you can ask 0586861003 पे WhatsApp कीजिए. Right now we'll go into अपना music, theme music, and उसके बाद sports update.
From the BBC World Service, this is Sports Update.
Hello from Andy Barwell at the BBC Sports Centre. It's women's singles quarter-finals day of the Wimbledon tennis. The top seed and world number one Ashley Barty is through to the last 8 for the first time and faces a clash with another Australian player, Isla Tomljanovic. Well, the Tunisian Ons Jabeur created a little piece of history, the first Arab woman to reach the quarter-finals, and faces a clash against the number 2 seed Aryna Sabalenka. Well, Jabeur feels that she is playing well enough herself to make further progress.
I've been going to the second week almost every Grand Slam right now, being more consistent. So I think everybody was kind of expecting me to be in the second week. My goal is to break this quarterfinal and be able to go to semi and why not the final. You know, I'm enjoying my time here in Wimbledon, enjoying the grass a lot. But you know, next round
football now. Italy take on Spain at Wembley Stadium today in the first semi-final of the Euros. Italy go into the game as slight favourites, and the Italian football writer James Horncastle told us why Roberto Mancini's side can reach the final.
I think they set the tone really from that opening game, you know. Andrea Bocelli singing, Nessun Dorma at the Stadio Olimpico, flares, horns honking. Again, they keep singing the song from Italia 90, Notti Magiche. The team has grown in confidence, and I think has played the best football in the tournament.
Meanwhile, the former England international star Chris Waddle feels that Spain aren't out of this.
For me, Italy's got the pressure on them, not Spain. I think if Spain go out, people will say they'll come again because they're young, they're talented. So Spain's got nothing to lose, and, you know, the pressure's on Italy. So I wouldn't write Spain off, to be honest. I think they're a side who still look after the football better than any other team.
The 9-time champions Brazil, the host nation, are through to another Copa America final thanks to a 1-0 success over Peru. Argentina take on Colombia in the second semi-final. Cycling's Tour de France resumes after a rest day. Stage 10 is fairly flat and expected to have a sprint finish. If Britain's Mark Cavendish is first across the line, he'd be just one career stage win behind the record holder, the legendary Eddie Merckx.
I can't remember the first rest day of the Tour de France feeling like a second rest day. Like everybody's completely spent. It's not just what you win, it's how you win it, and they're the memories you keep. And it's been incredible. If we stop now, this will be one of the nicest Tour de France's I've ever been part of, that's for sure.
South Africa's rugby union players are isolating for the second time in 8 days after another positive coronavirus test in the squad. And in ice hockey, the Stanley Cup finals are still alive. The Montreal Canadiens took Game 4 by 3-2 in overtime, and they trailed the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-1 in that best-of-7 series. You can catch up with the latest sports news and results on our website, bbc.com/sport.
Sports Update from the BBC World Service.
The UAE's conversation starts here. Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
Welcome back after the break, continuing with Talk Breakfast. विजय वलेचा हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं टॉक मार्केट में, जो आपके लिए लेकर आते हैं सेंचुरी फाइनेंशियल्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट, कंसल्टेंसी, रिसर्च, और बहुत हम तंग करते हैं विजय को उनसे सवाल पे सवाल, लेकिन आज हम जो है वो एक रिटायरमेंट का हमने एक नगेट बना लिया है. हम उनसे बात कर रहे थे कि टॉप प्लेसेस फॉर रिटायरमेंट, एंड ही हैज क्वाइट अ फ्यू नेम्स देयर.
Absolutely. The retirement के लिए ना, the most important thing is you have to earn in a place which has a higher standard of living. And you have to retire in a place which has a lower standard of living. So let's say अगर आप बॉम्बे से है ना इंडिया में, तो you don't want to retire in Bombay. You want to probably retire in Pune or Nagpur or something in a much lower cost of living.
Which is more quieter as well, yeah.
Quieter तो actually इसलिए है because cost of living कम है, and the vice versa. But the idea is that's the ideal thing to do. That way, you know, you can actually retire at a much earlier age.
Okay.
So Dubai, say when we look at it, the retirement places which are much lower in cost than Dubai are obviously the ideal. Something like a Bali in Indonesia, something like a Thailand, something like Vietnam is a very good retirement place right now. At the same time, when we go to the west, we look at Spain, Portugal, so of course, which are good retirement places. Besides that, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela are also top retirement places.
Wow, I never knew about South America or Colombia, and these places are great for retirement.
So the cost of living is really low. So basically, if you are spending X amount here, now you're literally spending 0.3x over there.
Acha.
So you're earning automatically triple हो जाती है. So instead of the 25-year savings, you just need 8-year savings.
Acha, interesting.
Very interesting. I was just asking him, what does he think of Turkey as a retirement place?
Turkey is one of the best places. I mean, the weather is good, the food is amazing, and of course, everything over there is great. Inflation we have to take in consideration. It's an emerging country, and the economy is really growing. So the inflation levels can go to 6-7%. But at the same time, it's a really, really great place. I love the south of Turkey, Fethiye Islands and Agera are amazing to retire at.
So safety also comes into place, right?
It has to come into place.
So safety के मामले में अगर देखा जाए तो I don't think there's any other place better than Dubai.
Of course, I mean Dubai is one of the top places to retire but the idea is capital बहुत चाहिए. So if you have the capital, and I think UAE is promoting right now a lot when it comes to retiring in UAE, and they're doing a lot of measures. Golden visa is the first step. Retirement visas they're going to come out with right now. Also, they are also coming out with, a 401k kind of a situation where you can have kind of a gratuity ki jagah pe you'll have actually a 401k. So that will actually help you retire.
And I think Vijay, ये बात भी जहन में हमें रखनी चाहिए कि UAE इसलिए भी लोगों के साथ बड़ा पॉपुलर है because back home, something happens, खुशी हो, दुख की बात हो, within hours you can travel. ज़ाहिर हम आज पैंडेमिक के टाइम को जहन में नहीं रख रहे, हम रिटायरमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं. So ये चीज़ भी एक पॉइंट होता है कि you can get quickly connected to your relatives back home.
Absolutely. And Dubai के लिए देखा जाए, UAE के लिए देखा जाए, तो it's not just for Indians and Pakistanis. I would say Emirates has the highest flight network in the world. मतलब कहीं भी जाना हो तो Emirates really helps you out, and that's why Dubai becomes a really, really good place to retire.
Yes, और ये भी सोचा जाता है कि middle class families जो होती है, for them to make a retirement plan, कभी-कभी ऐसा लगता है कि it is like impossible task to do. Because
Absolutely.
everything is about survival. इतना salary आता है वो पूरा का पूरा चला जाता है. So how do they manage with very limited income?
So absolutely, that is something which we have been really working towards the education of that.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that it's an impossible Herculean task, but the idea is it's actually not. So the earlier generations used to only focus कि हमारा retirement plan is our kids, and so invest only in the kids.
They'll take care of us when we're old.
They'll take care of us.
World has changed. Kids have changed.
But the world has changed, so we should always put that into consideration, and the world will keep changing from 20 years from now also. So if you're making a plan 20 years from now, that has to be taken into consideration, and most importantly, the idea is even if you're absolutely living like hand to mouth, even if you're below middle class, there's always a saving that is possible. The only thing is that it's very obvious things which people don't see. There are some silly mistakes that people do, and people don't realize that this could actually help me with a retirement plan.
Okay.
Please further elaborate हमारे सुनने वालों के लिए कि जो silly mistakes की आपने बात की है, for example, क्या हो सकती हैं ये?
For example, a lot of people, have this habit of taking multiple credit cards. Taking multiple credit cards, paying off one credit card with the other, and they don't realize that they're actually paying up 3% a month interest rate.
मतलब minimum amount pay करके outstanding रख के.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that people feel is a very smart thing to do, but actually it's not, because that 3% is what you actually want to make in a year. So you're paying it on a monthly basis. It's absolutely criminal.
36% हो गए साल के तो.
Exactly.
बाप रे.
That is criminal. So that is something which most people get wrong. Secondly, expanding your cost of living. A lot of people go beyond their cost of living, assuming that everything will always be as good as it is today. That has to be curbed for sure.
I mean, imagine कि for traveling you take loan.
काफी लोग लेते भी है. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people do
Installment
that.
plans भी लेते हैं. But that's still okay, I guess.
That's still okay.
Yeah, but traveling plans तो I think बदलने वाले हैं अब से तो. Virtual travel होने वाले सब जगह पे, and we were talking about that as well. अभी virtual industry हो रही है हर जगह पे. How is that going to impact ये सारी चीजें in terms of finance and investing?
So finance and investing, we have already seen stocks of Google, Zoom, Amazon have really spiked up.
Correct.
And that's, I think, the trend that is going to continue. We are going to see a lot of events that will happen virtually. We'll see a lot of expos that will happen virtually. We'll see actually a lot of change that is coming in. But ideally, I feel that travel पे इतना effect नहीं पड़ेगा, because the leisure travel will increase.
अच्छा.
See, as human beings, right, we have a tendency to take a break. And whether it's a break from work or whether it's a break for leisure, we definitely need to, travel and
कहीं ना कहीं निकल
explore.
गए.
Absolutely.
Yes. तो वो नहीं बंद होगा.
Absolutely. And by the looks of it, how Jeff Bezos is doing, our next travel probably will be to the moon.
Yes.
पहले दुनिया तो घूम ले विजय. That is something we all are looking forward to. And I think I would agree with Vijay because with time, people have made it even more easier. Traveling बहुत common भी हो गया और अब एक आदत सी भी हो गई है. जैसे I'm sure me and Vivek are somewhat ready to travel. That's a different thing that as of now we cannot. ये एक surprise हमारी जिंदगी में अचानक से आया. That is Talk Breakfast. But yes, mind आपका यही होता है कि अब break लें, तब break लें, and अच्छा लगता है कि you go and travel around. Weekends पे तो closer places you like to. But otherwise, yes, I think आने वाले times में और भी शायद आसान हो जाएगा, cost effective हो जाएगा traveling.
So cost effective तो actually काफी हो भी गया है. If we look at flights, what they were
Budget
20 years
airlines
back.
and yes.
आज के टाइम पे flights are much more cheaper.
Correct.
The flights में we don't see inflation coming in. Dubai to Bombay की ticket used to be 1,500 dirhams in 1991, and it is like $800 today. And the value of that $800 is like literally $80 in what it was in 1991.
बराबर. Because of expanding of other airlines also, competition and a lot of other
Competition plus technology is improving, so actually it's getting more and more cheaper. If we see last 1 year May, since the pandemic has hit, we have all taken a lot of staycations.
Yes.
And UAE hotel industry actually survived because of that. So that is also a very, very important thing. The staycation industry is really big, it's really moving forward. And local travel is really, really encouraged nowadays.
मैं वही सोच रहा हूँ कि जब हम रिटायरमेंट प्लान्स बात करते हैं, ट्रैवल बात करते हैं, चलो मिलेनियल्स एंड ऑफ कोर्स जेन एक्स एंड जेन जी जो है जो दे लुक फॉरवर्ड टू इट, बट हाउ डू यू कन्विंस देम फॉर रिटायरमेंट प्लान्स, बिकॉज दे द वन हु वांट टू लिव इन द मोमेंट एंड कि आगे का कौन सोचेगा यार.
So the idea is that actually nobody thinks of it. When I was 25 and I wasn't
You
thinking
never
of
thought
it.
about
I never
it.
thought of it. And again, I was told by a lot of people कि ये अभी plan करो तो easy पड़ेगा. But I did not listen to them.
But did you start working at that age?
I started working at 21, but 25 I was not actually thinking of retirement. But the idea is the earlier you think, it is always easier.
अब I think retirement तब आती है जब excitement कम हो जाती है. At that age you must be more of excitement in your life rather than thinking of retirement.
Absolutely. And that time what happens at the age of 25 is you start earning some money and you think कि अभी now is my time to splurge.
But वो भी होता है ना कि आज अब नहीं करोगे और will you have that energy to do the same activity वो time पे?
Absolutely. That is always there. Whether you want to live for today, whether you want to live for tomorrow is what we spoke about as the emotional decision of when to retire and how to retire.
How do you solve it?
It's actually each person who actually thinks, okay, if I'll have this energy or not, if I'll be wanting the same things or different things, how many kids you want to have. Those are questions which only each individual can answer.
और इतनी uncertainties के दौरान, especially with your job security and everything, कि यार पता नहीं कल क्या है.
And
so it becomes more tougher.
Like
Very
you
much
said,
more.
Kids, then you want to give them, above par education as well,
Of
which
course,
is very
always.
expensive.
I mean, too many things to keep in mind.
Yeah,
We got a message from O'Neill. इन्होंने कहा कि what will be the consequences of tapering in the market. ये तो ऐसा Adam Smith type book में answer type था.
So the idea is the tapering in the market is why he's asking it, I guess, because आज FOMC की meeting है रात को 11 बजे.
अच्छा.
So the idea is the Fed might be tapering the interest rates.
Oh.
So what happens is when they actually say tapering, what will happen is they might say that interest rates will start hiking on 2022 rather than 2023, which is what was earlier proposed.
अच्छा, जल्दी आने वाला है.
जल्दी आ सकते हैं interest rate hikes. So interest rate hikes अगर होते हैं, what happens is the markets come crashing down.
Okay.
So tonight is quite an important night for people like us. We'll be up and we'll be running in the office,
इतनी अच्छी बातें कर रहे थे विजय, हम ट्रैवल की कोई इस कंट्री हो, सो ये आके कहानी में ट्विस्ट इन्होंने लिया.
नहीं, मतलब ये बहुत कॉन्टेक्स्ट जो आपने निकाला है इस चीज का was really something यार. Really, what brain you have.
That's Vijay Valecha for you. Century Financial say investment, consultancy and research. I think time for a short break. आपका कोई सवाल हो, do reach us because ये बहुत थोड़े से टाइम के लिए आते हैं. फिर बहुत लंबी ब्रेक भी लेते हैं. 0586861003.
Talk Markets with Century Financial. Investment, consultancy, research. Talk 100.3. Talk 100.3. Traffic.
So ट्रैफिक इन अबू धाबी आज कुछ अलार्मिंग नहीं रहा है. एज यूजुअल मुजफ्फा पे ही आपको मिलने वाला है ट्रैफिक. अदर देन दिस आपको थोड़ा बहुत ट्रैफिक मिल सकता है जब आप हज़ा बिन जायद फर्स्ट स्ट्रीट से जा रहे हो, कॉर्निश की तरफ जा रहे हो, तो वहाँ पे हल्का सा आपको मिल सकता है ट्रैफिक. एंड इंटरनल रोड्स पे और नहीं जाता हूँ. शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद रोड पे आपको मिलेगा जब आप आ रहे हो नेशनल पेन्स की तरफ. और हिस्सा पे एक्सीडेंट रिपोर्टेड है. सो बर्शा से हिस्सा का एग्जिट ले रहे हो तो वहाँ पे तो मिलेगा ही ट्रैफिक. बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रैफिक आपको मिलने वाला है जब आप स्पोर्ट्स सिटी के बाद, वो सिग्नल के बाद जब आप हिस्सा की तरफ जाते हो, वहाँ पे काफ़ी आपको मिलने वाला है ट्रैफिक पूरे रोड पे. और कोई रूट होता है तो आप ले लीजिए, इल बी बेटर, इल सेव सम टाइम. इतिहाद रोड पे भी ट्रैफिक इज ईज्ड आउट एज वेल. कहीं और अनयूजुअल नजर आता है, यू कैन सेंड अस अ व्हाट्सएप 0586861003. टाइम फॉर आवर बिजनेस अपडेट.
Hello, I'm Andrew Wood with the BBC Business Update. Hong Kong's brushed off concerns about new privacy laws that, a technology industry body says, could prompt international giants to pull out of the city. The new rules target doxing. That's the malicious act of publishing people's personal information online. In a letter, the Asia Internet Coalition, Facebook, Google, Twitter and Apple, said the proposed legislation was too broad and vague, although it told the BBC that no member was planning to leave Hong Kong at the moment. Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, said she would continue to fast-track the laws. That, she said, would empower the privacy commissioners to investigate offences. The gang of cybercriminals called Revil is demanding $70 million paid in Bitcoin in return for a universal decryptor that, it says, will unlock the files of all of its victims. Revil claims its malware has hit 1 million systems around the world. Amit Yoran at Tenable, a cyber consultant, says companies must take simple security measures more seriously.
They're not patching their systems properly. They're not strongly authenticating their users. They're not backing up their systems and having good backups ready for restore when they do fall victim to ransomware. So there's a number of things that organizations can do to better protect themselves and to be better prepared.
It's United Nations Climate Week in Asia Pacific, and Japan's hosting a virtual conference that will discuss, among other things, how to reduce global dependence on fossil fuels. Big producers like BP and Shell say they'll be net zero carbon companies by 2050. Ben Carhill from the Centre for Strategic and International Studies in Washington says the companies have set themselves tough targets.
And they have to move into newer areas, say offshore wind or solar or low carbon fuels. In many cases, the companies are new at this. You have companies that have been doing this for a long time and have much more experience. So there is quite a bit of skepticism that the big oil and gas companies can just pivot and become competitive in these new industries. I think there are a lot of questions about whether or not the returns generated from these sectors will be as high as they have been historically for oil and gas.
Researchers say trials of a 4-day week in Iceland were an overwhelming success. The experiment took place between 2015 and 2019, and productivity remained the same or even improved in most workplaces. I'm Andrew Wood, and I'll be back tomorrow with another BBC Business Update.
Andrew and James, BBC Minute.
Basketball to start. The Phoenix Suns have won Game 1 of the NBA Finals. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks 118-105. Chris Paul led the scoring for the Suns with 32 points.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had been a doubt with injury, had 20 points and 17 rebounds for the Bucks. Game 2 is on Thursday night.
Argentina are through to the final of the Copa America football tournament. They beat Colombia on penalties after their match finished 1-1 in regular time.
To Japan, and we are seeing reports Tokyo is the latest city to cancel the Olympic torch relay that was to be held on public roads. It over fears gathering crowds could spread the coronavirus.
Meanwhile, a lockdown in and around Sydney in Australia has been extended for another week as the highly infectious Delta variant continues to spread.
Fiji is also struggling with the variant. The Pacific Island nation has put parts of the country, including the capital Suva, under an overnight curfew to try and contain it.
Waking you up to the UAE's conversation. Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
Talk 100.3. Mr. Vijay Valecha हमारे साथ है from Century Financial, Chief Investment Officer. We've been getting a lot of messages as well. Vijay, are you ready to take these questions?
Most definitely.
Good morning. I have two questions for Mr. Vijay. ऐसे अतुल कुमार कहते हैं कि पहला सवाल, how can we avoid holding cost of cryptocurrencies when we buy on century platform?
So Atul ji, the main thing is ke cryptos are that volatile, so holding cost to always rahega. You can never really avoid the holding cost, whether it's our platform or any other, holding cost will always be there. The holding cost ideally, so there are two ways to actually trade in cryptos. One is called a wallet, jahan pe if you actually buy cryptos without taking any leverage na, you can actually keep it in your hard disk forever. Usme you're never going to pay a holding cost, but of course it is a huge transaction cost that you're paying upfront, which is close to around 10 to 12%. And the more important thing is that exiting is very, very difficult. So depending if you're taking a leverage, I would still suggest pay the holding cost. But if you're not taking a leverage, there are definitely wallets to avoid the holding cost.
समझ में आ गया, Mr. Atul Kumar.
Next question.
Any plans to include UAE stocks on your trading platform?
No, not really. As of now, we actually don't want to get into the UAE market space, and there's only one reason for that. We already have a working culture of Monday to Friday, so unless until the markets change, wo ek aur extra shift डालना is quite painful for us.
We also got a message from Johnson. उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा एक आर्टिकल शेयर किया है ये, जहाँ पे बिजनेस वायर इंडिया जेबी full stack co blockchain company, they've leveraged their blockchain portfolio with NFT non-fungible tokens capabilities और announce किया the launch of a native blockchain ecosystem for the world of cricket. So, इस पे जॉनसन का सवाल ये है कि what's your take in the boom on investment on digital assets in cricket through tokens?
So the idea is there are various sectors that we look at even in cricket where we'll see digital tokens coming in. There'll be, of course, the security tokens and there'll also be the investment tokens.
I mean, I'm imagining, the merchandise and everything which belongs to Sachin Tendulkar.
Merchandising.
NFTs ho gaye uske.
NFTs mein to definitely that's a big space where the security tokens will come into factor. Something like what we are doing, Boomer. Boomer also has tokens where you can actually redeem it for everything around in UAE. And what happens in Boomer is you can actually, win through the cricket medium. Okay. So it's not directly cricket, but it's indirectly cricket investment. So a lot of tokens coming in that space. Obviously, we'll also see that probably IPL bidding will happen in a couple of years over with tokens. Whether the BCCI removes its own coin or whether, it'll just be using the digital rupee is yet to be seen.
Oh, wow. ये क्रिकेट में तो मतलब भरपूर आने वाला है ये पूरा वेव आई थिंक
every sport
because we saw Roger Federer, he was auctioning और उसके लिए जो Sotheby's they were accepting NFT digital cryptocurrencies they were accepting.
Absolutely, same thing will happen when Sachin Tendulkar will probably give out his bat which he uses at the World Cup and everything.
और उसके NFTs बना के
होगा
and people will auction for that and get it.
I will be one of them for sure.
Yes.
And what other players in football?
Definitely will auction for Messi.
Superb. तो सवाल और भी आ रहे हैं 0586861003. ऑल्सो एक मैसेज आया है धोनी का 6 वाला वीडियो वो भी था, उसका भी तो NFT बन सकता है.
Absolutely बन सकता है.
बट वो तो ब्रॉडकास्टिंग राइट्स के पास है, उनके
ब्रॉडकास्टिंग राइट्स. So the idea is you can create an NFT for the broadcasting rights.
Let's say Star Sports.
Let's say Star Sports has it. Star Sports can create 100 different versions of it, and let's say there's a limited edition which only 100 people can buy out.
Yeah. So I saw on Twitter ने क्या किया है, उनके NFTs जो है वो फ्री दे रहे थे, वो कुछ I think 10 or something or first 100 free of cost वो दे रहे थे लोग, and people can actually now sell those.
Absolutely.
Whoever got those free Twitter memes.
Absolutely. And if you look at it, that's how blockchain started, right? It's because the space is still developing. I mean, not till 10 years back, even Bitcoin was trading at like 5 cents.
Yeah. And look at it now.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Really amazing, yaar. I mean, retirement से किधर गए हम कैसे retire करेंगे ऐसे? And how will you retire, Vijay? मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ. When you are totally so passionate about it, you will not, right? You will still have this apps running on your phone and computers में जहाँ पे markets चल रहा है.
Absolutely. So the idea of retirement is never that you're actually retiring from your core industry or you're actually retiring from what you enjoy doing. The idea of retirement is that you don't have to just work a 9 to 6 job.
Well, हमारा तो 9 to 6 नहीं है विवेक.
Yeah, लेकिन ये भी एक सवाल है. Now, retirement की बात करते हैं, 9 to 6 हो गया, athletes हो गए, creative, सबका अलग अलग होता है, right?
Absolutely. Like for athletes, it's not retirement by anything to do with capital, but it's actually to do with age.
Physical.
Yeah, like we are seeing Roger Federer, one of the best players, but right now, at Wimbledon, he's quite struggling. I mean, I was seeing his match yesterday. He was hardly running for any of the shots.
Yes.
He's still a very good player, but at the same time, we can see that he's aged. And 39 is not a very big age, but in a sport of tennis, it definitely is.
Yes.
And already when, injuries have been with you and you've been recovering and then one leads to another.
Absolutely.
I think business update की तरफ भी हम बढ़ रहे हैं.
Yes.
और आपके questions अच्छे हैं और आए तो और भी अच्छी बात है. Do reach us on 05-8686-1003.
Talk 100.3 Business.
So business हर घंटे आपको देते हैं. आपको बता दें कि US federal government will be in $3 trillion deficit by the end of fiscal 2021 according to Congressional Budget Office estimate. क्योंकि multiple stimulus measures दिए US government ने for combating the pandemic's economic impact, Congress will run a budgetary shortfall this year equivalent to 13.4% of GDP, the second largest level since 1945. So the $23 trillion portion of government debt जो है held by the public would bump to 103% by the end of current fiscal year. So the deficit in 2020 totaled to $3.13 trillion and already is at $2.06 trillion through the first 8 months of the fiscal year. Total government debt is now $28.3 trillion, of which the public holds $22.2 trillion. Wise, there was some good news. The CBO raised its estimate for gross domestic product to gain 7.4% by the end of 2021 and 2.8% a year through 2025, well above its historical norm. Unemployment also will continue to decline, the report said, until it falls to around 4% in 2022 and remains there for several years. On inflation, the office sees the personal consumption expenditures index rising by 2.8% this year, and the PCE index is the preferred inflation measure for the Federal Reserve, which last week indicated a headline inflation rate of 3.4%, well above its 2% target. So the CBO expects inflation to moderate in coming years to 2% in 2022 and then holding around 2.1% through 2025, and the 10-year Treasury note yield is estimated to rise to 2.7% from the end of 2025. It most recently traded around 1.48%. हम हैं मिस्टर विजय वलेचा के साथ और बिजनेस की बात करें और ये बिजनेस न्यूज़ जो हमने दिया अभी उस पे क्या कहना चाहते हैं आप विजय?
So, like the first thing that you said, the Fed has that kind of a loan. Is exactly
deficit.
That's exactly what O'Neill was asking कि tapering कब start होगा?
अच्छा, because ये deficit उन्हें पूरा तो करना ही है, नहीं तो inflation बढ़ते जाएगा.
Deficit पूरा करना है, plus the idea is stop printing money. So when they're going to stop the printing, when the quantitative easing will actually reduce or completely come out is the main question. Is the market stable enough? Because the market does look stable enough that you can actually wean off right now the stimulus packages. But then what happens is if you remove it, the markets could just come down.
जो नहीं होगा, I'm sure there are measures taken because जैसे आप कह रहे थे पहले भी that US economy पे, of course the world economy also has great impact.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the biggest economy in the world. It actually contributes to 60% of the transactions. So it's not a small thing. Whatever US decides actually creates the world recession or the world bull run.
But thoda bahut to we should be prepared, I guess, in terms of...
Absolutely, because there is no ways that the Fed will keep continuing this for a longer period of time. If inflation remains above 2% till next year, they will have to start tapering sooner than before.
अच्छा, ऐसा हो रहा है. तो ओनील का वापस मैसेज आया. उन्होंने कहा कि ये जो सवाल है टेपरिंग का, वो बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया फॉर आंसरिंग दैट. ही इज also asking what are your views on the cryptocurrency market. I think in short, if you could just say that.
So the idea is cryptocurrencies, I do feel bullish over the long term, and again long term is very different for cryptos as compared to equities. Cryptos के लिए 2 years is a very long term horizon. So when you're looking at cryptos over the 2-year period, it's definitely bullish, but अभी के लिए I think we should see some setbacks.
I think people cannot take, crypto out of their mind. They are forced to, some or the other way involve themselves, and that's why they keep asking. I think every other show, Vijay, there hasn't been a show जहाँ आपसे cryptocurrency के बारे में ना पूछा हो.
Absolutely, and even in regular business, the idea is I don't go past a day when nobody's asking for cryptos. So cryptos got definitely huge demand hai, and it could probably change the way the physical world lives in right now. How actually the monetary policy of the world could change through cryptos, but that is still yet to be seen.
ग्रेट और भी बातें हम करने वाले हैं बट उसके पहले क्विक क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम जॉनसन अगेन. बेटी की शादी करनी है 20 साल बाद.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग.
तो क्रिप्टो से पैसे कैसे लिक्विडेट कर सकते हैं? डिपेंड्स ऑन वेयर यू इन्वेस्ट, राइट?
Absolutely. Where you invest is very important because cryptos में the biggest risk that people actually don't understand is कि equities में and other investments में there was biggest risk was scam risk. People just come and tell you 10% guaranteed returns a month.
जो नहीं दे सकते
हैं. So those things that to be avoided. Cryptos में the biggest thing is security risk. So cryptos में हमने देखा है कि a lot of exchanges have been hacked in the past. And a lot of exchanges as crypto gets bigger and bigger will be hacked.
और गवर्नमेंट क्रैकडाउन दोनों में से.
एंड ऑल्सो गवर्नमेंट क्रैकडाउन तो आते ही रहेंगे. सो दैट इज द थिंग दैट यू हैव टू लुक एट सिक्योरिटी मोर देन एनीथिंग एल्स. एट द सेम टाइम इट्स डेफिनेटली द बेस्ट थिंग टू डू इज प्लान फॉर योर डॉटर्स वेडिंग 20 years in the future. Of course, in today's world, it is not really required to save money for your daughter's wedding
because she'll
manage by herself for sure.
ये आप ये personal experience से कह रहे हैं?
Personal experience, so I don't have kids, so not really.
But you were a son.
Yeah, of course.
But ये जो सवाल है ये पूछ रहे हैं कि can it be converted into regular currency? Of course it will.
Yeah, of course it can easily be converted into regular currency as of now. All your money in cryptocurrency is not ideal. And again, for all we know कि 35,000 का Bitcoin आज है, 20 years from now we might see a 3 million.
Yeah, that's what I was
तो
thinking.
मतलब शादी के लिए मतलब full दुबई को बुलाना पड़ेगा.
Destination wedding भी हो सकती है.
पूरा कंट्री खरीद सकते हैं.
हाँ, absolutely.
आप सुन रहे Talk Breakfast and we will break in for our
traffic and sports update. Yeah.
Talk Markets with Century Financial. Investment, consultancy, research. Talk 100.3. Talk 100.3. Traffic.
So ट्रैफिक आपको कहाँ मिलने वाला है? अबू धाबी में. आई थिंक आपने गेस कर ही लिया होगा. मुस्तफ़ा पे तो मिलेगा ही ट्रैफिक आपको. ऑल्सो आपको कहाँ मिलेगा? इन दुबई शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद रोड पे हल्का सा है, इट्स ईज्ड आउट. लेकिन अलखेल पे एक्सीडेंट्स रिपोर्ट हो रहे हैं. अलकूस के वहाँ, मैदान के वहाँ काफ़ी एक्सीडेंट्स रिपोर्टेड है. इनफैक्ट अगर आप मैदान की तरफ जा रहे हो टुवर्ड्स रासल खोल जद्दाफ की तरफ जा रहे हो तो आपको मिल सकता है वहाँ पे, क्योंकि वहाँ पे एक्सीडेंट्स रिपोर्टेड है. तो दोनों तरफ यू विल फाइंड अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रैफिक. हिस्सा पे भी एक्सीडेंट्स रिपोर्टेड, सो दैट इज ईजिंग आउट अ लिटिल. बट देन हिस्सा का एग्जिट जब आप लेते हो स्पोर्ट्स सिटी से और जाते हो हिस्सा मीडिया सिटी की तरफ, वहाँ पे भी काफ़ी ट्रैफिक आपको मिल सकता है. DIP की तरफ भी हल्का सा ट्रैफिक इज स्लो मूविंग और कहीं पे अनयूजुअल नजर आता है. डू शेयर इट विद अस. ऑल्सो एक एक्सीडेंट रिपोर्टेड है शेख जायद बिन हमदान अल नहयान स्ट्रीट के राउंड अबाउट पे, एकेडमिक सिटी के राउंड अबाउट पे. वहाँ पे एक एक्सीडेंट है राउंड अबाउट पे, बट उतना कुछ ट्रैफिक वहाँ पे नजर नहीं आ रहा. 0586861003. मिस्टर विजय वलेचा हमारे साथ है. टाइम फॉर स्पोर्ट्स अपडेट.
From the BBC World Service, this is Sports Update.
Hello from Andy Barwell at the BBC Sports Centre. The England football boss Gareth Southgate is urging his team to make history by reaching a European final. But he says today's opponents will be tougher to break down than Ukraine in the last round. It's England against Denmark in the Euro's second semi-final at Wembley Stadium in London.
I think it's a motivating thing. It's a challenge for us. If we were a country that had won 5 titles and we had to match what had gone before, it might feel differently, but we're not. Denmark have won it, so maybe there's more pressure on Denmark to replicate that.
Well, Italy await the winners after a 4-2 victory in a penalty shootout. Their clash with Spain had ended 1 apiece after extra time. Italy's boss is Roberto Mancini.
We are very proud for this, also for our Italian people, for all the Italian people. And I'm very proud of my players because it's not easy.
At the Copa America South America's Championship, the second semi-final finished 1 apiece, but Argentina eliminated Colombia 3-2 on penalties to set up a heavyweight showdown in the weekend's final against the hosts and 9-time champions Brazil.
Sports Update from the BBC World Service.
On men's singles quarter-finals day in the tennis at Wimbledon, the top seed Novak Djokovic faces the Hungarian player Marton Fucsovics, while Roger Federer is facing a tricky-looking clash against Poland's rising star Hubert Hurkacz. And Federer is happy there'll now be a capacity crowd watching on the famous centre court.
I mean, 100% crowds is going to be incredible after playing Night Session Paris with 5 people. That sound is what you play for. And I tried to think back, like what would it have meant for me to win Wimbledon with no crowds in the finals. This was, last year I was thinking that as I was watching guys play with very little crowd or no crowd, and I just felt like it probably would have taken 70 or 80% of everything away from me.
Meanwhile, the women's world number 1, Ashley Barty, said she was excited to get through her quarter-final and make it through to the last 4. Barty will next take on Angelique Kerber. Arina Sabalenka and Karolina Pliskova came through their matches in the last 8. And at the last 4 Grand Slams, including Wimbledon, the 16 semi-final places have been taken by 16 different players. Cycling, Britain's Mark Cavendish sprinted to his 33rd stage victory on the Tour de France to move to within 1 win of the legendary Eddie Merckx's all-time record. It's unlikely to come today, though. Stage 11 is in the mountains. Athletics, the American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson was expected to be one of the stars of the Tokyo Olympics, but she won't be there. The 21-year-old has accepted a 1-month ban for testing positive for cannabis. And the opening game of this season's NBA Finals saw the Phoenix Suns defeat the Milwaukee Bucks 118 points to 105. The fitness stout Giannis did play for Milwaukee, but he wasn't at his best. You can catch up with the latest sports news and results on our website, bbc.com/sport.
Sports Update from the BBC World Service.
This is Talk 100.3. Waking you up to the UAE's conversation. Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
Welcome back after the break. Continuing with Talk Breakfast. थोड़ा सा ही टाइम रह गया है, making the most of it. कोई क्वेश्चन आपके जहन में हो इन्वेस्टमेंट से रिलेटेड, रिटायरमेंट से रिलेटेड, आज आपने हम तक पहुंचना है, क्योंकि अब फिर अगले हफ्ते आएंगे. विजय, द नंबर टू रीच 0586861003. यू नो विजय, मैं एक हेडलाइन कल फोर्ब्स में पढ़ रही थी, तो उन्होंने उस पर कहा कि फॉर बिजनेस इट्स द समर ऑफ लिविंग अनप्रिडिक्टेबली. यू थिंक सो?
Absolutely, इसमें कोई doubt ही नहीं है. It is summer for sure because markets have never been better. Markets have never been as bullish as they are in the last decade. And at the same time, it is so uncertain कि इतना bullishness है किस वजह से.
Wow, we all know the answer, but we don't have the solution for now.
I think it's being positive, I guess, because ऐसा period से हम गुजरे हैं. I think it's that vibe, right?
So this kind of a economic cycle that came in the 1990s from 1989 to 1998. Exactly वैसा चल रहा है where everything is just bullish, everything is good, there's absolutely no bad investment decision, everything goes in your favor, so it's really a good one. The uncertain part is when does this end? And does it end in a bad manner or does it end in a very decent manner?
And what do you think?
Well, I really think the Fed is very clear that they are not going to taper anytime soon. They're not going to really bring in a high interest rate. And I think the world has now moved into low interest rates. So 2008 say Europe has not really gone into a 2%, 3% kind of interest rates. They have remained close to 0 2008 say, and I think it's going to be there for eternity now for the entire EU space.
अरे बहुत अच्छा है ये तो.
So US also will definitely follow suit, and we know will be close to 0 to 1.5% interest rates for the next 10-12 years. So even if we see corrections, it will not be as steep as 2008 was. We might see some corrections in the market, and all those corrections are buying dips.
और G7 countries जो है वो टैक्स करने वाले हैं multinationals. I think वहाँ पे रिकवरी हो सकती है, and I think all the other countries will also support G7 countries.
Not really. The other countries के लिए क्या है कि what happens is something like an Apple manufacturers in China and Vietnam. So if they get taxed in Vietnam and China, they will start manufacturing in US itself.
But कहाँ जाएंगे? पूरी दुनिया अगर एक साथ हो गई तो?
अगर हो गई तो हो गई. मतलब end of the day we will have countries who will definitely become new zones which will have manufacturing hubs.
मतलब आप अपनी कंट्री का इकोनॉमी बढ़ाने के लिए आप दुनिया का नुकसान करने के चक्कर में है ना? Why would you do that?
I think that's how the world works.
That's how it
देखो जैसे आयरलैंड का मैं देख रहा था, वो 15% और 13% कुछ चार्ज करते हैं टैक्सेशन, एंड इनका जो टैक्सेशन हो 20% अगर होता है.
Yes.
So everybody will move into Ireland.
Absolutely. So anybody who can actually provide a better rate will obviously gain advantage, and that's how it works. That's how new economies start doing better and old economies collapse eventually.
But eventually क्या होगा? What do you think? ये जो multinationals को tax करेंगे, where is this going to end finally?
I think there'll always be tax havens in the world. So they will. So even if the old ones go away, there'll be new tax countries, which will give a much lower rate. It could be New Zealand coming up next, which they're trying to do now. Vietnam is coming up in a really big way. So even if the old ones are taxed, the new ones will definitely come up.
और वही हम रिटायरमेंट की बात करें, जैसे वियतनाम में कर लिया, कोलंबिया में कर लिया, and you start earning money as well, so you have to pay tax for that government as well.
So you do have to pay taxes for sure.
जहाँ पे भी आप हो.
So a lot of countries don't have investment taxes but have only income taxes. So as long as you're not making an income, and if you're just making income from investments, you're not actually taxed.
Amazing. I mean, there are so many things to look into, yaar. I mean, Vijay, every day आओ यार, 4 घंटे के लिए आओ.
And you just feel that it's a cycle, it will keep coming, and it's your luck that जैसे अभी 80s 90s की बात की, हमें उस वक्त क्या पता था क्या होता है ये.
Crypto कभी कुछ आएगा ऐसा.
Nobody thought of it.
Nobody thought, and it came so quick.
Absolutely, and what will come 20 years from now, we have no idea right now also.
But you should have the currency to invest.
Absolutely, currency. Like Jeff Bezos actually is traveling to space because space travel could become a real thing 20 years from now. And जहाँ पे all of us will be actually traveling to space for a regular vacation.
और ये इनके लिए vacation नहीं होगा. This must be some great business idea.
This is testing ground for these people.
है ना?
Yeah.
They don't do anything just like that.
Just like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there has to be some finance investment involved in it.
And like they say, time is money, and it takes a lot of time to reach there. That means a lot of time, lot of money.
Absolutely.
Wow. What are we looking forward to? मैं वो सोच रहा हूँ कि दिमाग हर जगह पे चल रहा है इस वक्त.
बस हम लोगों से यही कहेंगे कि दुनिया में कहीं भी अपना रिटायरमेंट प्लान रखें, चांद सूरज पे फिलहाल के लिए नहीं. लेकिन yes, having Vijay Valecha indeed is always a pleasure. बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग हमारा आज का शो रहा विजय एंड विवेक. ऑफ कोर्स मैं कल हमें बहुत सारे मैसेज आए इंकरेजमेंट के, तो मुझे लगा कि ये ट्यूसडे अफेक्ट होगा. आज भी वही सिलसिला रहा.
आज भी कितने मैसेजेस आए हमें.
Yes, और कितने हम नहीं पढ़ भी पाए शायद.
और हम ये स्पॉन्सर के सामने कह रहे हैं कितना पॉपुलर हो रहा है देखो हमारा शो.
लेकिन आई थिंक विजय को भी जाहिर है दुनिया बहुत छोटी जगह है, फीडबैक तो आती ही है. और विजय यहाँ पे खुशी खुशी आते हैं, जब जा रहे होते हैं मैं देख रही होती हूँ स्माइल जरा और भी बड़ी हो जाती है. तो इसका मतलब है बॉडी लैंग्वेज तो आपको पता है ना कि इट कैन नॉट चीट. सो ऑलवेज अ प्लेजर टू हैव यू विद अस विजय. वीकेंड के कुछ प्लान्स हैं आपके? वीकेंड इज ऑलमोस्ट अराउंड द कॉर्नर.
Weekend is almost around the corner. I'm just getting my second vaccination, so that is the plans for now.
अच्छा देखो प्लानिंग इसमें भी देखो आप बराबर वीकेंड के टाइम पे, so that even if you fall a little unwell.
And because I know I'll fall unwell, so at least weekend waste होगा.
Is it Pfizer?
Yeah, Pfizer.
But let me tell you, मुझे बहुत लोगों ने कहा था विजय, I was, if not I can say perfect, but I was close to perfect. मुझे कुछ feel नहीं हुआ. पहले में भी it was just the pain. Your angle is a little different with your arm. And दूसरे में भी exactly वही था. So I didn't fall sick. And if your immune system relatively और आपकी sleeping pattern, eating pattern अच्छे हैं, तो I don't think आपको ज़्यादा डरना चाहिए. शायद आधा दिन आपका थोड़ा सा lazy हो तो वैसे भी होता है.
वो तो weekend वैसे lazy होता है.
And this advice is coming from very trusted source, Dr. Sobia in the studios of Talk.
Personal experience. And I think विवेक भी काफी देर तक ठीक रहे, लेकिन आज बिल्कुल आप वैसे ही लग रहे हैं क्योंकि अब आंखें रेड होना शुरू हो गई हैं. 1-2 बजे की नींद और
वैम्पायर
7 बजे का शो.
Great.
But यहीं हम आपसे इजाजत लेंगे. Thank you so much for that love that you show us through messages and being with us. We'll catch you tomorrow. That's lovely Thursday morning of Talk Breakfast. And Talk Breakfast team को इजाजत दीजिए. And Vivek, Sunil and myself, Sobia Khan. Take care from Sobia Khan. Allah Nikiban.
If there's one thing we've learnt in the pandemic, it's how to work from home. Now you can learn how to invest at your convenience right from home through online advice in investments and trading in global financial markets directly from the experts. Listen to Talk Markets Sunday to Thursday from 10 a.m. for the best market and investment tips, and learn how to diversify your investments by trading from anywhere. Learn from the experts only on Talk Markets with Century Financial. Investment, consultancy, research. This is Talk 100.3.